I just quit my job at NASA on Monday. It's currently Thursday, June 18th, as of this recording, and I want to talk about it. This is a decision that I had been struggling with for over a year at this point, and I finally committed to it by giving my 2 weeks notice on June 1st and finishing out the rest of my 2 weeks there at NASA Ames Research Center. I was there for almost 3 years. I started in October 2023, and I got a job as a contracting data scientist through the Bay Area Environmental Research Institute, which is headquartered at NASA Ames Research Center. And it was particularly hard because I did this NASA internship 10 years ago. It was actually June 12th, 2016, when I started this internship known as the Student Airborne Research Program, or SARP. In fact, I believe I have the logo of it on the back of my iPad here. Oh yeah, here it is. It's this one right here. And I and the other interns in that internship got to fly on this NASA plane known as the DC-8. That was one of the major selling points of that internship, that you got to fly on this really cool NASA plane and see how NASA scientists do work on this flying laboratory. And I remember when that internship ended, I felt a profound sadness because I was so connected and close to the other interns, many of whom also went on to become professionals at different NASA centers like myself. And I thought when that internship ended that I may never get another chance to work at NASA again in any capacity, whether as an intern or as a professional scientist. And so to be willingly leaving the agency that I fell so dearly in love with 10 years ago is a very hard decision. And I did it because ultimately this experience taught me quite a number of things, which I'll get into now. I'd say that the biggest reason that I'm leaving is because I've realized that over the past 10 or 11 years since I've started doing research as an undergraduate, I don't think I'm my happiest self as a researcher. I'm quite happy, or happier, as a teacher, an educator, a science communicator, a mentor. And whether it was tutoring my peers as an undergrad, or mentoring undergrad researchers as a grad student, or being a private tutor as a grad student, or being a teaching assistant as a grad student, all of which I enjoyed, or running the internship program at NASA Ames, or being the advisor for that internship program, I should say. I didn't start the internship, but I was the advisor to 5 interns last year on wildfire research in California. It was a wonderful experience. I enjoyed it so much. And it was only a small sliver of my time, technically, for that summer, though it was what I wish I could have invested more time doing. And all of these experiences have taught me that I don't love the act of researching. I'm decent at it, I'd say, but I don't find myself to be the happiest when I'm actively doing it. And I feel that I would rather be spending my time doing things I actually truly enjoy, as opposed to forcing myself to do something that I know is important, and I respect the heck out of people who do it for their career, but I personally don't find as rewarding. So I think that is the main reason why I'm leaving. Another reason that I'm leaving is, honestly, I was overworked and I was overburdened. And NASA is facing quite a number of challenges from its own presidential administration. For those of you who are unaware, the Department of Governmental Efficiency, or DOGE, led by Elon Musk last year, came in and canceled a number of federal grants. It led to the mass exodus of many long-term civil servant government employees, and overall just tanked the morale at NASA and at other federal agencies. And when I saw people who had just performed many years of service to NASA and were being let go or encouraged to leave very strongly, and seeing the sadness in people when they had to pack it up and just acknowledge that their 30, 40-year career was coming to an end, and not because of their choosing necessarily. I just didn't see myself being able to stay there much longer after that point. In terms of being overworked, I was on this project that I don't want to get into the specifics of, but I was feeling overwhelmed and realizing that the scope of this project was way more than I had anticipated and what had been presented to me. And I was working late hours, staying after everyone had gone in the office, staying until midnight, after midnight, desperately trying to figure out how to do what I needed to do to get the work done, using NASA's supercomputers, trying to wrangle like 100 to 500 of those computers and learning how to write scripts to execute jobs on them to process all these big data sets. And while that was rewarding when I figured it out, I just remember feeling so stressed and so anxious and so upset, honestly, that I had gotten into this situation where it felt like I had let myself be overburdened. And even when I went to for lack of a better word, complain that this was unreasonable, I just couldn't get really any relief at all. I remember asking for more people to help me with my task, and that was denied. And then I had ultimately asked to just get moved off that project and onto another project. And I had a verbal and technically a written agreement, an email saying that I could move on to the other project once these last few set of things on the current project I was on was finished. But that last few things kept getting appended and more things got added onto it, and the scope just kept expanding. And I really didn't have a way to say no, per se, because the next thing I wanted to move on to was also tied to the greater research group that I was a part of. And so I really felt just stuck. I really felt that I had to find the courage to speak up for myself and say, hey, I think this is unfair. I think I'm working much harder than I'm being compensated for. I really need help, or if I can't get help, I need to get off this project. And that took a lot of courage to stand up for myself and bring in management above my supervisor and just get them all to agree that I could get off of this project eventually. And I stayed on that project 8 or 9 months longer than I had originally promised to be on it, because I wanted to get off of it on September 2025. And that final date just kept getting extended further and further and further. First it was October 7th, then October 15th, then December 31st, and then end of February, end of April, and it just kept going. And at some point, I just couldn't take it anymore. I just felt that I was being held back. I was made to be kept on a project that I didn't want to stay on. And I had, in my view, exhausted all my options that were available to me besides just leaving. And so it was a hard decision to make, because the things that I was working on in terms of helping California protect its natural resources, I thought it was a very important problem. And I had wanted to move into more applied research and doing work that I knew would benefit people after graduate school, after writing a thesis on the dynamics of black holes in their galaxies, which I think is still really cool, but I really wanted to move on from more sort of abstract, faraway things to things here on Earth. And I'm proud to say that despite all the challenges, I was able to deliver a final set of deliverables that I was personally happy with, that I thought this could be an important stepping stone for future projects, not just in California, but throughout the United States. So I felt like I had gotten to a point with my project at NASA that I was happy to say this is a good ending point for this project and for my time at NASA Ames. So what now, right? What am I going to do now? Well, as I mentioned earlier, I really care about education and teaching and helping people learn and communicating, which hopefully has been obvious for a while since I have this YouTube channel. And I want to invest more time in this YouTube channel, but also in other endeavors as well. So I've actually also started consulting part-time for an educational technology company, and I'll be doing that part-time to support myself while I'm also working on my own thing here on YouTube, but also on, let's say, my Instagram, TikTok, trying to figure out how to leverage short form to effectively teach concepts and ideas from math, physics, and perhaps artificial intelligence too. I'm not as strong on that as I am with math and physics, but I would like to be. So I'm going to try and self-teach myself more AI things so I could make more videos about them. And I also want to possibly write a book. If you have noticed on my website, I've actually started adding some of my lecture notes that I took as a college student and as a graduate student. And so those notes on my webpage are free and accessible, and they're part of what I like to call Kyle's compendium of math and physics. And I'd like to build that out into something of an interactive platform with perhaps different books for all those subjects, or if not books, then, I don't know, workbooks or guides or documents that can supplant those just scanned notes and really help people who are trying to learn these subjects in a self-study, independent study kind of manner. And so I'm really excited to do that. It's incredibly scary because this decision I've made is kind of one of the first times in my life where I felt like I've ended something of my own volition, as opposed to something just ending because I graduate a program, right? So when I think about my positions in undergrad and grad school and the jobs I had there as like a private tutor or as a physics lab assistant, it's like they all ended because I just graduated and I had to move on to the next thing. This is the first time really in maybe since I was a high school student when I was working summer jobs that I actually quit something. I quit one summer job, so I guess it's not the first time in my life, but it's the first time in a long time that I've ended something and just said I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I know I'm going on a very unconventional route now, and I think part of me has also been afraid to make this decision because, frankly, I was worried what other people might think. I was worried about my friends and my family, what they would think if I did this. And I had a lot of discussions with my family. And there was a point where my family could see, different family members could see how stressed and anxious and genuinely unhappy I was in my current job. And they told me that all they really want for me is to be happy and that I should do what makes me happy, even if it isn't at NASA, and even if it in the short term is very unknown and scary and maybe not be as financially lucrative in the short term. Who knows? Part of this is also giving myself permission to fail for once. Fail at trying to build, let's say, more of an online presence with this YouTube channel and trying to see what the life of a content creator is like. I've always kept YouTube as this hobby, and I've enjoyed it as a hobby. And I feel that part of doing that was to kind of keep this excuse ready of just saying, oh, well, if it doesn't take off, if it doesn't grow to be a big thing, it's because it's not my main thing. It's just because it's a hobby, right? And I think that we sometimes create these narratives in our head to protect our ego or protect our sense of self-worth. And I'm not someone who normally is a risk taker. Like, I've been a pretty risk-averse person most of my life, but I don't want to have the questions at the end of it all where I'm saying, what if I tried give a little bit more to YouTube, and what if I tried to be more of an unconventional educator, like not just constrained to a university curriculum or a high school curriculum, but I got to create courses and write books or guides and materials for any subject that I want. And that feels really exciting to me to try. And even if it doesn't work out, I feel like I'll have created some good in the world by trying. And I think that is enough for me to feel satisfied, because I know that I'm capable of working in an organization, right? If I have to get another job after this period in my life that, pays the bills, then so be it. Okay. I can do that. Like, I'm fine with that. And I'll, for sure, by the end of this, I feel like we'll have at least helped a few people with just the effort I'm putting towards education and sharing my notes freely and trying to build these interactive learning materials. So I'm really excited actually to embark on this new chapter of my life, though of course it is sad to say goodbye to NASA, but perhaps it's not a goodbye forever. Maybe it's just until next time, because I'm not someone who likes to say I'll never or I'll always, or use these very strong words and describers that say I'm going to always do something. I reserve a small probability for me to change my mind or to possibly take advantage of opportunities that I didn't account for. So yeah, I think that's all I needed to say. So thank you for watching, and thank you for following this channel for however long you followed this channel for. I can't believe I've had it for roughly 10 years now, and I've been making content on YouTube on different channels since 2008 or 9. It's been a long time, and I think I'm finally ready to give myself permission to fail at this. And I'm looking forward to creating content, creating educational materials, and just putting myself out there and putting my ideas out there into the greater world and the internet and see how they are received. So thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more videos, and I'll see you next time. Take care.